Welcome to AI Vodcast. Today, we're diving into Carry On, a 2024 thriller film streaming on Netflix. It's a pulse-pounding story featuring Taron Egerton, Sofia Carson, and Jason Bateman, following an airport security officer racing against time to stop a dangerous item from boarding a Christmas Eve flight. And yes, it's a multilingual experience for viewers around the globe. So, whether you're into high-stakes drama or need your next binge recommendation, stay tuned because we have plenty to unpack. A quick note before we jump in. This podcast is fully AI generated. Our host, guests, and speakers are all AI powered. And while they don't have names, they've got plenty of ideas. This is a space to have fun with technology and celebrate how AI connects the dots in our everyday world. Of course, no harm is intended, just good vibes, curious minds, and fascinating discussions. So, grab your headphones and let's dive into the world of Carry On.
All right, strap yourselves in, because today we're taking a deep dive into Carry On, that new Netflix thriller.
Oh, yeah, the one everyone's been buzzing about.
Exactly. But the buzz is, well, kind of all over the place.
It really is.
So we're going to break it all down, see what's really going on with this movie.
We've got reviews, early reactions, even dug into some databases.
We want to figure out, is this movie worth your time?
Yeah, because some folks are saying it's like the next Die Hard.
And others are like, hard pass.
Yeah, it's a real head-scratcher.
So, okay, for those who haven't seen it yet, basic premise, we've got this TSA agent, Ethan.
Played by Taron Egerton, right?
Yep, Taron Egerton. And it's Christmas Eve. He's already having a rough day.
Holiday travel, am I right?
Ugh, tell me about it. But it gets so much worse for this guy.
Oh, yeah. Things go from bad to bonkers real quick.
Because he gets blackmailed by this mysterious traveler.
Okay, and this is where it gets interesting. The traveler is played by Jason Bateman.
Jason Bateman, can you believe that casting?
Good old curveball.
I know, right? We'll definitely dig into that later on. But first, back to the plot.
Right, so Bateman's character, he forces Ethan to let this dangerous package through security.
And the stakes.
Yeah.
Let's just say Ethan's pregnant girlfriend, who also happens to be working at LAX that day.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, she's in a whole lot of trouble.
Talk about a really bad Christmas Eve.
So basically, the entire movie becomes this crazy race against time.
Ethan's stuck in this insane cat-mouse game, all within the world of LAX airport.
Which, let's be honest, is already kind of stressful, even without a bomb threat.
Oh, absolutely. So the setting itself just adds to the tension.
Right, and that brings us to what people are saying about the premise itself.
Yeah, is it clever or just a rehash?
The reviewers are comparing it to, like, Die Hard 2, you know, that whole trapped in one location thriller vibe.
Right, or even Phone Booth.
Yeah. But then others are saying it's basically The Commuter, but set in an airport.
Same idea, different mode of transportation.
What do you think? Does the premise work for you?
You know, what I find interesting is how it plays on a fear we all have.
Especially anyone who's ever traveled by plane.
Exactly. It's that whole idea of airport security. We put so much trust in it.
Right, like, are we really safe?
And this movie just twists that, turns it into this pressure cooker of suspicion and danger.
You're totally right. It makes you think twice about those times you're just standing in that security line waiting.
Yeah, just hoping your bag doesn't get flagged.
And then there's Taron Egerton as Ethan. He's supposed to be this average guy, a TSA agent.
Right, just trying to do his job.
Suddenly, bam, he's thrust into this crazy situation.
So do you buy it? Is he believable as this, like, everyman hero?
Some reviewers are saying, yes, he's relatable. You can really see the fear in his eyes.
Others are like, nah, he's a little too heroic.
Right, like, is this guy really a TSA agent or a secret action star in disguise?
I get what they mean. There are moments where Egerton's charm kind of takes over.
Like, wait, is this guy really freaking out?
But then there's that scene, remember, where he's in the airport bathroom.
Oh, yeah, throwing up from the stress.
That felt real. Like, anyone in that situation would probably lose it.
Totally agree. But let's talk about the source of all that stress. Jason Bateman's character.
The puppet master.
Pulling all the strings from afar.
I still can't get over that casting choice, Jason Bateman as the villain.
It's wild, right? We're used to seeing him in comedies.
Arrested Development, Ozark, he's always the funny guy.
So how did he do? Playing against type? Was it convincing?
You know, that's what makes it so interesting, because he's got that signature deadpan delivery.
Right, that dry humor we love.
But in Carry On, it's like a weapon.
Whoa, okay, explain that.
He delivers these chilling threats, but in this calm, almost bored voice.
That's creepy.
It's super unsettling because he's not some over-the-top bad guy.
He's just cold and calculating.
Which is way scarier, in my opinion.
I think you might be right about that.
And he's not the only one in this cast. We've got Sofia Carson playing Ethan's girlfriend, Nora.
A lot of reviewers are praising her performance, saying she's not just a damsel in distress.
Right. She's smart. She takes action. You really believe they're in love.
And then you've got Dean Norris from Breaking Bad, playing Ethan's boss.
Oh, yeah, he's always good.
And Danielle Deadweiler is an FBI agent who gets caught up in all this.
Were there any supporting performances that stood out to you?
Honestly, Sofia Carson really impressed me. That scene where one of Bateman's guys tries to take her out right in the middle of LAX.
Intense.
It was crazy. But it brings us to the big comparison everyone's making. Carry On and Die Hard. How similar are they really?
I mean, it's all there, right? Lone hero, confined setting, ticking clock.
It's like they took the Die Hard formula and dropped it into an airport.
But what I think Carry On does differently is how it uses technology.
Okay, I'm listening.
It's not just guns and explosions. It's about smartphones, smartwatches, security cameras, all used as weapons.
Whoa, I didn't think about it like that.
Think about how much of your life is tied to your phone. That's what this movie is playing with.
It's like Die Hard for the digital age.
Exactly. It's about surveillance, hacking, the whole thing.
That's a little unsettling, but also kind of brilliant.
And then you've got that ethical dilemma Ethan's facing.
Save his girlfriend, maybe risk hundreds of lives.
Talk about pressure.
It's like a real-life trolley problem playing out in an airport.
Especially when they reveal the weapon, Novichok.
For those who don't know, that's a super deadly nerve agent.
Seriously nasty stuff.
So yeah, the stakes are HGH in this movie, but here's the thing.
Some people are loving it, calling it one of the best thrillers they've seen.
But others are ripping it apart for all the plot holes and unrealistic stuff.
It's a divisive one for sure.
Like, how does Bateman's character just waltz into this high-security airport so easily?
Right. And that car chase scene, FBI agent having a shootout on the freeway, come on.
It's like it can't decide if it wants to be gritty and real or just a big, over-the-top action flick.
And then there's that ending. I won't spoil it, but
Let's just say some people loved it and others were just like, what?
it definitely leaves you thinking, that's for sure.
All right, got to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to dig into what all these crazy reactions to Carry On really tell us.
About the movie and maybe even about ourselves. Stick around.
Welcome back. We're diving deeper into Carry On now.
Trying to figure out why it's getting such a wild mix of reactions.
Yeah, because it's definitely not for everyone.
Some people are loving it, calling it a guilty pleasure, all the action and suspense.
And others are listing plot holes like it's their holiday shopping list.
So what's the deal? Why are people reacting so differently?
Well, I think it's more than just whether Carry On is good or bad.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Go on.
It's about what those reactions go. Tell us about how we watch movies today.
You mean like how we react to a movie, especially one as chaotic as Carry On, actually reveals something about us?
Exactly.
That's a little freaky, but I kind of see what you mean.
Think about it. All the stuff this movie throws at you. Terrorism, airport security, impossible choices.
Technology gone wrong, the list goes on. These aren't just plot points. They're tapping into anxieties that we all feel, maybe even you listening to this right now.
Okay, now I'm really creeped out, but you have a point.
So the people who are giving Carry On rave reviews, maybe they're just better at turning off their brains and enjoying the ride.
Or maybe they're less bothered by those real-world anxieties the movie brings up.
Right, because for some people, seeing a clear-cut hero versus villain, a world where the good guy wins, it's escapism.
Makes sense. Real life is messy, but Carry On offers this simplified version where the stakes are high, but the outcome is comforting.
Yeah, like good triumphs over evil, order is restored, you can relax.
It's like comfort food. But for your brain, you just want to see the bad guys get what they deserve and the hero save the day?
No complicated moral dilemmas, no messy gray areas, just pure entertainment.
And then you've got the other side, people who are tearing Carry On apart, pointing out every logical flaw, every plot hole.
They're like the fact checkers of the movie world.
So are they reflecting a different kind of anxiety? Like, they're so aware of how complicated and messy the real world is that a movie like Carry On, with its easy answers and convenient plot twists, just feels also wrong.
Exactly. It's like they're saying, hold on a minute, that's not how this actually works.
And maybe they're a little disappointed that the movie isn't smarter, doesn't engage with the complexity they see all around them.
Right, because they can't just turn off their brains and enjoy the ride. They're constantly analyzing, critiquing.
So it's like two different ways of looking at the world. You've got the escapists who want to break from reality, and you've got the realists who are constantly analyzing and critiquing.
And neither is right or wrong. It's just about understanding that those reactions are totally valid.
They come from different places.
It takes us back to our big question. What do our reactions to a movie like Carry On say about us?
It's like we're choosing our own adventure, and the choice itself tells a story.
And that choice is influenced by so many things.
Our personalities, our anxieties, our desire for escapism versus realism.
I'm starting to think that Carry On is less about what happens on screen.
And more about what's happening in our heads while we're watching it.
Exactly. But let's shift gears for a minute and look at what the professional critics are saying.
All right, let's hear it. Because remember, the reviews are all over the place.
We've got everything from must-see thriller of the year to so bad it's good. It's a real grab bag.
So let's look at the scores and grades this thing is getting, because I'm curious to see if there's any pattern here.
All right, let's break it down. If you look at IMDb, where regular viewers rate movies, Carry On is currently sitting at 6.6 out of 10.
Okay, not terrible, but not great either.
But that's based on over 27,000 reviews.
So like a pretty decent sample size?
Yep, pretty good indication of what the average viewer thinks. But then you look at Metacritic, where they gather reviews from professional critics, and
Wow.
the score jumps to 68.
Interesting. So the critics are liking it more than the average audience.
It seems like it, which could be that disconnect we were talking about earlier. Maybe critics who are used to analyzing movies on a technical level, they're picking up on things that the average viewer might not.
Okay, so like what?
Performances, pacing, the way the director builds tension. Even if the plot is a little shaky, they can still appreciate the craft.
So they're saying, yeah, it's got problems, but it's still a well-made movie.
And some critics are going even further, like IndieWire calls it a fantastic thriller.
Wow, high praise. What else are the positive reviews saying?
Well, the playlist gives it a B+ say, which is pretty good. They specifically call out Egerton and Bateman's performances as highlights and say the film has this no fuss, no muss approach.
I like that, no fuss, no muss. But I'm guessing not everyone is so forgiving.
You guessed it. You've got critics like Nate Adams, who calls it a mindless airport thriller that's entirely preposterous.
Ouch.
Yeah, he even predicts that people will forget about it in a week, and that seems to be a common criticism. Like Screen Rant calls it uneven and says it gets more fun as it dumbs down.
It sounds like they're disappointed the movie didn't aim higher, didn't try to be something more.
And some of the online reviews are even harsher. Like there's this one commenter on Reddit who calls Carry On one of the stupidest films they've seen.
So it really does seem like you've got two camps, those who can enjoy the ride, even with the bumps, and those who are looking for something more substantial.
It's a litmus test for what people want from a thriller these days. Pure entertainment, or something that engages with the complexities of the real world.
That's such a good point, and it makes me wonder if we're becoming more and more tolerant of plot holes in movies these days. Are we willing to sacrifice logic for the sake of a good time?
It's definitely something to think about. But since we're talking about the real world, let's circle back to something you mentioned earlier, the anxieties that Carry On taps into.
Yeah, and I wasn't just talking about airport security. There's something deeper there.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more.
Think about that feeling we all get when we're going through airport security. That feeling of being watched, of being vulnerable, of hoping that everything goes smoothly.
Ugh. And that feeling is something the movie really amplifies.
It does. It takes that everyday worry and turns it into this high-stakes thriller where the consequences are huge.
It's like the movie is holding up a mirror to our anxieties about being vulnerable in a world that feels increasingly unpredictable.
And it makes you wonder if that's part of the reason this movie is getting so much attention, even with the mixed reviews. Like, whether we like it or not, we can't look away.
Because it's speaking to something deep within us, something we all feel, but don't always talk about.
Exactly. And that's the power of art, isn't it? To make us confront uncomfortable truths, to make us question our assumptions, to make us feel things.
Carry On might not be a perfect movie, but it's definitely starting a conversation.
A conversation about our fears, our hopes, and our collective search for meaning in a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain.
And that's what makes this whole deep dive worthwhile. It's not just about one movie. It's about connecting the dots, finding the bigger picture, and using those insights to navigate our own lives.
So as we wrap up, we want to leave you with one final thought to ponder, something that goes beyond Carry On.
Okay, hit me with it.
Think about those anxieties we were just talking about, that feeling of vulnerability, the fear of the unknown, the reliance on systems that could fail us at any moment.
Okay.
Are those anxieties specific to airport security, or do they reflect something deeper, about our modern world.
Oh, that's a good one. And it's something worth thinking about, maybe even talking about with your friends, family, anyone who's seen the movie. Because the more we engage in these conversations, the more we understand not just the art we consume, but also the world we live in. And who knows, maybe Carry On, with all its flaws and imperfections, will spark a conversation that goes beyond the movie itself. A conversation about our fears, our hopes, and our collective search for meaning in a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain.
And that is what makes this whole deep dive worthwhile. It's not just about one movie. It's about connecting the dots, finding the bigger picture, and using those insights to navigate our own lives. So, dear listener, as you go about your day, as you scroll through your feeds, as you interact with the world around you, keep those questions in mind. Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep diving deep, because that's how we learn, that's how we grow, that's how we make sense of it all, one deep dive at a time. And on that note, we'll sign off. Until next time, keep those minds curious and those conversations flowing. All right, we're back for the final leg of our deep dive into Carry On.
We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
We really have. The premise, those performances, the good, the bad,
Yeah, all of it.
and of course those wild reactions people are having.
Love it or hate it, this movie is sparking some serious debate.
So let's get to that big question, the one everyone wants an answer to.
Should I watch it or skip it question?
Is Carry On actually worth your time?
Tough one, honestly.
Because on one hand, it's got a lot going for it.
If you just want to switch off your brain for a couple hours, enjoy some action, some thrills.
Yeah, it'll deliver on that. It's definitely got its moments.
But if you're looking for something deeper, something that's, like, perfectly plotted, thought-provoking.
You might want to manage your expectations a little.
Yeah, because it does stumble in certain areas, especially when it comes to logic.
Realism, sometimes you got to suspend your disbelief, for sure.
It's a movie that delivers on some things, the performances, the tension.
Keeps you on the edge of your seat.
But then it kind of drops the ball in other places.
It's like that friend who throws a great party, you know? Everyone's having fun, music's pumping.
Yeah, good vibes.
But then you notice the snacks are running low, maybe the decorations are a little off.
I get it. You're having a good time, but you can't help but notice those little things that could be better.
Exactly. And maybe that's what makes Carry On so interesting to talk about. It's flawed, for sure.
But it's also entertaining in its own way.
It sparks debate, gets people talking. It definitely gets under your skin.
And I think it reflects our world in a way, all the anxieties, the uncertainties.
We were talking about that before, right? That sense of vulnerability we all feel.
Yeah, the reliance on systems that could just fail at any moment.
And it makes you wonder, are we as viewers getting more tolerant of plot holes these days? Are we willing to sacrifice logic just for a good time?
Or are we actually demanding more from our entertainment?
Something that challenges us intellectually and emotionally.
Yeah, like, do we want movies to just escape from reality or to actually engage with it, with all its messiness?
Those are some really interesting questions. And honestly, there are no easy answers.
It's all about perspective, right? What are you looking for in a movie?
That's the beauty of art. It's subjective. It sparks these conversations.
And that's what we've tried to do here on this deep dive, give you different angles to think about.
So you can make your own informed decision.
Exactly. At the end of the day, it's your call. Watch it, skip it, it's up to you.
But as we wrap things up, we want to leave you with something to ponder.
Always love a good, thought-provoking question to end on.
Think about those anxieties we talked about, that vulnerability, the fear of the unknown.
That feeling that things could just go wrong at any moment.
Are those anxieties just about airport security? Or do they reflect something deeper about how we live and now to be other in this modern world?
That's a good one. It makes you think.
It does, right? And maybe that's the point, to get us thinking, talking about these things.
Exactly, because the more we have these conversations, the more we understand ourselves, the world around us.
And that's what makes deep dives like this so worthwhile. It's not just about one movie.
It's about connecting the dots, finding the bigger picture.
And using those insights to navigate our own lives, right?
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So, to all our listeners out there, as you go about your day, keep those questions in mind. Keep exploring, keep questioning.
Stay curious, keep diving deep.
Because that's how we learn, that's how we grow, and that's how we make sense of it all. One deep dive at a time.
And on that note, we'll sign off.
Until next time, keep those minds curious and those conversations flowing.